Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I'm going to show you how I made this fun koala card, and we're going to be using some foiling techniques. I'm actually going to be using the toner ink stamping and the Minc foiling machine. So let's go ahead and get started. So I decided to give this a try. This is for the Heidi Swap Minc machine, and this little bottle contains the toner ink. And I purchased this separately. And also I purchased that ink pad there separately too, which is also from the Heidi Swap Minc collection. Now you get this little container here and you want to measure out 15 milliliters. So I'm going to do 5 first and then I'll do 10 after that. And what you want to do is just coat this ink pad with this ink. So I'm just going to pour it on. And there are replacement pads for these little ink pads here. So you do get one with this. And then you can buy replacements, and they come 4 in a pack. So the ink is good for about 2 hours after you ink your ink pad. And then after that, I guess it becomes kind of hard and dry. So you do need to throw it out and start with a new one. So while you have this out, you probably want to do quite a bit of stamping. That's what I did. I just grabbed a whole bunch of different stamps and I started stamping things and just setting them aside. So again, I'm just going to coat this little ink pad, and then I'm going to use that little container just to kind of push it down in there, just kind of scraping it along the top just to move it around a little bit. Then I'm just going to let it sit for a few minutes and settle into the ink pad there. So I'm just trying to spread this out so it's completely covering this little ink pad. And then you do have a cover there which does snap on just to keep that pad from drying out. So I do suggest putting the cover on after each stamping. So again, I'm just going to spread that out and let that sit for a minute or two. And I'll pop that cover on. And then you do want to make sure you clean off all of your supplies really well. So I'm going to go ahead and clean out this little container. And then I'll also clean off the top of that bottle as well before I put the cap back on. So I did use a paper towel, and then I used a baby wipe just to make sure everything was nice and clean. So it's a little bit messy at first, but once you get started, it's not too bad. So what I really like about this is just an easy way to do foiling with your stamps. Just another way to do this. Prior to this, you could print something with your toner ink, or Heidi Swap does have some products that already have toner on them that you can foil. But with this, I can use any of the stamps that I have to do some foiling, which I really love. So to get started with the stamping, I've placed some glossy white paper, white cardstock in my MISTI, and I'm going to be using these beautiful butterfly stamps. And these are from the Art Impressions Bible Journaling Collection, and this is the butterfly set. So I'm going to just position these butterflies just randomly on my cardstock here. I do like to start kind of in the center of my cardstock and work my way out towards the edges. So now I've taken this little ink pad out of that container just so I could flip it over and pat it onto my stamps. Now you could certainly just put these stamps on an acrylic block and do your stamping that way, but I just wanted to make sure that if I needed to do a double stamping, everything would be lined up. So I'm using the positioner here, but you certainly don't have to. So you do want to clean these off really well in between. And I'm just making sure they're nice and dry because I'm going to place those back onto my cardstock. Now I did find that the best stamping I got was using a coated paper. So again, this one is a glossy white cardstock, and I did find that was the easiest one to foil with. So you do want to play around with that. And I also found that you do want to stamp quickly. You don't want to leave the ink on the paper for too long because it's very sticky. And what will happen is it just sticks to the paper, and then it's very difficult to get it off. So I did kind of learn by trial and error. I would say practice first. It does take a little bit of time to get used to. So definitely want to get some scrap paper and give it a try before you go to your project. So I did play around with this for, when I got it, I played around with it for maybe like 3 or 4 hours just to see what papers work best and what foils work the best. So I finished stamping that panel the exact same way. Now I am setting the Minc machine to number 5, which is the highest setting. And I'm using my iCraft Deco foil in the rainbow color. So I did stamp a couple extra butterflies after I stamped that entire background. And I'm just going to cut a piece of foil to cover this entire piece of cardstock and another one to do my extra little butterflies there. I'm going to go ahead and place these in my transfer folder. I'm just going to set these in here and make sure that foil completely covers those panels. You don't want any of that toner ink exposed because it will stick to the transfer folder if it's not covered. So make sure you completely cover that with the foil. Then I'm running this through the Minc machine, and I'm just rubbing that a little bit with my fingers just to make sure that's all attached. And that one is all set. And then for this panel here, I'll show you that in a second. And these butterflies came out beautiful. And you can see that. I'll give you a closer look here at that, but I just think these are so pretty. So now for stamping, I'm going to grab this little koala here, but I use these other koalas on previous cards, and I will link to those down below and also on my blog. So I'm going to grab that stamp, and we're going to be stamping with the Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is a 100-pound weight. And I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers mini precision press to do my stamping. This is just a little mini stamp positioner. It's got these holes for alignment and then these little pads on the bottom that you just push down on to pick up your stamp and to do your stamping. So I'm using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink again to do my stamping here. And you just want to line up those pegs and then press down when you're ready to stamp. And I'm going to stamp this 2 times. And I love this little precision press for traveling. I travel a lot with my supplies, so this is a really great little tool to have in your little toolkit. So I'll go ahead and color this in with light pink, gray brown, and light gray. And these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. So I'm going to start with that pink. And I've done so many videos with these Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. They are a water-based pen, and I do love to use them. They're just so easy to blend with. And I'm adding the light color first and then adding that darker color and just kind of pull down into his face here, just keeping that face very light. And then I'm just going to add some shadows here and there and blend that out. Now to clean off your blender, you just scribble it onto some scrap paper until it goes clear, and then you'll know that it's clean to move on to your next color. You can also use a water brush here as well to do your blending. And I'm just going to add some shadows here and there. And again, I've done a couple of different videos with these little koalas. I did a little koala celebration card, which is kind of like a New Year's celebration card, the one with in the little teacups. And I did it in black, white, gold, and silver. So it really had a festive look to it. And I also did the Art Impressions Koala Hugs card, where I used that little cluster of koalas all hugging each other, which I just love. That's one of my favorites. So again, I'll link to those down below and also on my blog as well. So here you can see that when I get a little too much color on my blender, I just scribble it onto some scrap paper. So you can remove ink as well. And then I'm going to add a little bit more shadow up at the top here. Just pull that down. And then for his nose, I'm going to grab the black real quickly. I'm placing it down towards the bottom of his nose, and I'm just going to pull it up. And again, I'm just removing that excess ink so that I can keep the top of his nose very light. I'm using my purple tape, and I'm attaching the coordinating die, and this set does come with the dies, which makes this really great. I love when the dies are included. I'm using my Sttiched Sidekick machine, and I'm going to run that through. So I'll give you a closer look at this little guy, which is so cute. And now I'm going to make a standard A2 top folding card. So this measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches, and I'm scoring it at 5 1/2 inches. I'm just pressing out that crease with the bone folder. And again, that's going to be a top folding card. I'm using the Really Rainbow striped paper from the Petite Paper Pack. This is from Lawn Fawn. And that's going to coordinate really well with the rainbow foiling that we have. So I've grabbed the largest die and the second largest die from the Art Impressions Rectangle A2 Double Stitch Die Set. And I'm using that largest die on this striped pattern and the second largest for the butterflies. Those will have that pretty stitched edge all the way around. So those will layer up just like that. Now I'm grabbing the Lawn Fawn Really Rainbow Petite Paper Pack again, and I'm going to use that bright yellow. And I'm using the Flag Double Stitch dies from Art Impressions, and I'm using that one there. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut that, again running it through the Sttiched Sidekick machine. And I did decide to die cut a second one of those later on. You'll see that just because this paper is very thin. So I did die cut a second one. Now I'm going to place this in the mini precision press again. And I'm just going to position this where I think I want that to be on the card. So I'm using the Fairy Cubbies Stamp and Die set, which is a brand new set from Art Impressions. And I'm going to grab that sentiment that says, "Hope your day is magical." I'm going to place that down here in the bottom, sort of towards the left side of this little flag. I'm just going to make sure it's nice and straight. And then I can go ahead and remove that little koala and stamp this. I'm going to prep this stamp just a little bit because I've never used it before, so I'm just rubbing it with my finger a few times just so the ink will stick a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and stamp that, and I will stamp this twice. So again, I did die cut a second one of these little flags, and I'm going to attach these two together. And I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to attach these. And again, that's just going to give a little weight to this paper, which is kind of on the thin side. So I'll let that dry. Now I've got these two extra butterflies that I foiled, and I'm going to grab this smaller one. I'm going to cut this out using my detail scissors, and I'm just going to leave a little white border all the way around. Now using my Scotch ATG, this is a permanent double stick tape that I have in here. I'm just going to go ahead and put that tape all over the back and attach that to my card. Then for the butterfly panel, I am going to use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive just because I want to make sure it's really centered well. So this will give me a chance to move it around just a little bit if I need to. So I'm just going to center that on the card. And for this flag, I'm going to pop this up. I'm using some Scotch foam mounting tape. And I just want to make sure I have a good bit of tape along the back of this. And I'm going to remove the backing and attach it to the sort of towards the bottom right hand side of my card here. And then I'll pop up the little koala as well. And now I'm going to add that extra little butterfly that we cut out. I'm just going to fold this kind of in half here and just round the wings just a little bit with my fingers, just to give it a little dimension. I'm placing glue right down the center of the butterfly, and I'm just going to attach that there right above the sentiment. Now I'm going to take a few sequins. I'm looking for kind of a yellowy gold color, and I'm just going to pop those on. I'm not sure who these sequins are by. I just had them in my stash, so anything you have here would be fine. I'm using my Marvy jewel picker and some deluxe adhesive to glue those down. So here's a closer look at the card, and you can see that foiling there, which I just love. I love the idea of being able to use another product with our stamps just to stretch them a little bit further. And I hope you give this a try. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.